Well, Joseph Biden quietly signed 3 cop-friendly bills into law yesterday, and corporate media widely ignored it, probably in a strategic move to protect his fragile image as being someone who gives a crap about the people in light of the 2 potentially explosive trials going on. The first bill is called the Confidentiality Opportunities for Peer Support, or guess what, COPS Counseling Act, which encourages mental health and peer counseling programs for cops while ensuring that information disclosed during those sessions remains confidential. It also requires the Justice Department to create a list of best practices. Biden, of course, made remarks during the bill signing comparing the experiences cops have to those of military members who come home from war. He said, quote, often a lot of people come home without a lot of physical wounds, but come home with post-traumatic stress in responding to terrible incidents. The same thing happens for our law enforcement officers arriving at homicide scenes, handling child abuse cases. As they confront these situations, we need to help them recover from the invisible wounds that their work can inflict. My hope is giving more officers access to confidentiality and high-quality mental health resources. We're going to reduce the stigma around seeking help, end quote. All right, first, let me just note that the president just signed a bill into law that requires the Department of Justice to create a list of best practices. Now, I don't know what that is, but no president has signed into law any requirement for police departments to disclose the records of shootings or excessive force complaints involving their cops. So funny how a requirement for one thing can be done, but not another. Okay. And then second, well, that's just dandy, Joe Biden, giving cops access to high-quality mental health resources. But the people who live through these stressful situations that the cops show up to after all the damage has been done, well, the people, they get nothing. Where's the access to high-quality mental health care for the people who live through these situations before the cops came and after they leave? And very often, because sometimes the cops make the situation worse. The other 2 bills are the Protecting America's First Responders Act, which ensures that law enforcement and first responders who are disabled in the line of duty are able to get access to their benefits quickly. Funny, I remember when Abdus first filed for disability after his diabetes could no longer be managed by metformin, the pills. So he had to start injecting insulin, and he couldn't drive a truck any longer because DOT regulations state that if you're on insulin, you cannot drive. So Abdus was legally disabled and could no longer work. He was a truck driver. It took him a year to get approved for his disability benefits. How long did it take people you know to get their disability benefits? Because now cops and first responders have a bill that guarantees that they'll get their disability benefits quickly. Y'all got that? Huh. The third bill is the Jamie Zapata and Victor Avila Federal Officers and Employees Protection Act, which ensures that people who harm U.S. law enforcement personnel abroad can be prosecuted in the United States. Lovely. I should also note that Biden signed these bills in a little covered ceremony that was, of course, attended by law enforcement officials, including Merrick Garland, on the same day that the Department of Justice announced that it is providing more than $139 million in grant funding through its Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services. Guess what? That's an acronym for its COPS hiring program, or the COPS hiring program. The awards provide direct funding to 183 law enforcement agencies across the nation, allowing these agencies to hire 1,066 additional full-time cops, thereby, according to the Department of Justice, increasing their community policing capacity and crime prevention efforts. The DOJ further claims that these police departments will use the funding to do things like building legitimacy and trust between law enforcement and communities, addressing high rates of gun violence, combating hate and domestic extremism, or supporting police-based responses to persons in crisis. You know, all the things that law enforcement has never done well with any measure of success. More cops does not instill trust in people whose rights and bodies are violated by the cops. More cops does not address gun violence. More cops who see black radicals and activists fighting for our rights and lives as extremists will do nothing to combat the actual white hate groups who are the real domestic terrorists. More cops will not help persons in crisis when cops already are more prone to harm or kill a person in crisis than help them through the crisis. But if that's not bad enough, the shocking part of the DOJ's announcement is that it says that since the creation of this program in 1994, that's how long this program has been around, COPS has invested more than $14 billion, with a B, to advance community policing, including grants awarded to more than 13,000 state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies to fund the hiring and redeployment of more than 135,000 cops. CHP, COPS' flagship program, continues to be in demand today. For fiscal year 2022, President Biden has requested $537 million for CHP. That's an increase of $300 million. Biden said, when you look at what our communities need and what our law enforcement is being asked to do, it's going to require more resources, not fewer resources. This is why my administration is invested in the community policing we know works. This is the community policing that politicians support. More cops. That's it. This is why we should never use that phrase again in our organizing against police terrorism and call out liberal hucksters who push that phrase on us and their idea for police engagement in our communities when we're in discussions with them about what we need. We need to be clear that the police state is upheld and valorized in this country, not just by unhinged right-wing stormtrooper-minded politicians and their vigilante-loving supporters, but by law and order Democrats like Joe Biden and Attorney General Merrick Garland, who do their backslapping of the police state without the fanfare of national media coverage. Yet another example of why we cannot put our pursuit of justice in the hands of the state that's invested in denying it for us. Follow Luqman Nation on patreon.com/LuqmanNation for lots of great content.